A woman got stoned somewhere in Bangkok, Thailand. Apparently she got stoned because some gangsters drugged her so she would become an addict. Those gangsters came to another room where a woman was lying. There they found it and kidnapped that woman on the street. Before they took that woman to their boss, they took turns sleeping with her. Across the street there was a bald man called Kurdi who was having a meal at a food booth. Not long after that, the gangsters came out of their place. Kurdi got up from his seat and did this to them and turned out. Kurdi came to that place to attack those gangsters. He brought a duffel bag and approached the location of the explosion. There was a man called Awfully inside of the duffel bag. He was an enemy of those gangsters. Curtis shot a gangster who was still alive. He handed Opera a gun. It seemed like Kurt. He wanted to pit Apple, his gang, against the gangsters. When Curry was about to leave, he saw a beautiful woman called May who had been witnessing the situation. An hour later, an executive of the gang called Advisor Bun received an information that his subordinates were killed by Opolis gang by using a bomb. Advisor Bum was very disappointed to hear that Napoli's gang did that. He told his subordinate to attack Opolis gang at midnight. Curry met a man who had ordered him. Apparently Curdy was a hitman. The man who ordered him was called to Sep Asep, wanted to kill the gangsters because the gangsters had made his daughter as a slave for them. He asked Curdy to find his daughter soon on the second floor of a club. Some men bet against a man who was blindfolded. The blindfold man was called Jimmy. He was an illegal arms dealer. When he went downstairs, he saw Kirby was staring at him. Jimmy ran away immediately. Curdy chased him. Finally, Curdy managed to catch Jimmy. Curdy told Jimmy that he wanted to see him because he needed some weapons. Jimmy was pleased to hear that because he thought Curdy came to kill him. After that, Jimmy took Cody to a warehouse. Apparently that warehouse was Jimmy's armory. Jimmy chose a sniper rifle to kill the gangsters from Advisor Bond's gang. Then Curry went to the tower of a temple. To execute his plan, there was a nightclub that was owned by a police gang in front of the temple. Curdy believed that the gangsters would come there to attack the Opolis gang because of the early incident behind the temple. There was a place where the monks lived. Curdy kept the money given to him by a Sep inside of the floor in that tower. Then he broke a stair so he would know if someone came to that place. Curdy then prepared his weapon and ate his favorite food, lenko rice. Suddenly May came to that place. May was the person who showed up after the bomb explosion. Curdy asked May why she came to that place. May said that she was following Curdy because she wanted to help him. When Curdy heard that, he tied May up immediately because he was afraid if she thwarted him. But not long after that he untied because he asked her to wake him up if there was a fight at the nightclub of a police gang. A few minutes later, the gangsters from Advisor Bun's gang came to the club to take revenge. They still thought that their gang members were killed by Awfully gang. Curdy woke up and did this. They screamed in terror because it was the first time she had witnessed a mass murder in front of her eyes. The next day, Advisor Bun and his subordinate met the gang leader who was in the middle of a ritual. Advisor Bun informed the gang leader that their gang members had been killed by a sniper who did not belong to a police gang. Curdy found out that they may have been enslaved by the gangsters. Because of that, May have offered her help to Curdy. Curdy requested that May provide him with the location of the gang's office. As they arrived, Curry was surprised because the gangsters were not members of an ordinary gang like he thought they were before. He came to meet us to get his money. Curry was mad at Asep because he had given him a dangerous mission before accepting the mission. Asep told him that Curdy's target was only an ordinary gang. At night, the gang leader Advisor Bun and their subordinate brought a white elephant with them as a symbol of truce. They visited that place because they wanted to stop fighting with Opolis gang. The gang leader realized that the Annapolis gang was pitted against each other by someone else. Curtis and May be watching them from the temple tower. The next day, Curdy came to meet Jimmy to ask for new weapons. Jimmy refused his request because he knew Curdy was going after the country's most powerful gang. Jimmy didn't want those gangsters to know who supplied weapons to Curdy, but Curdy insisted on getting weapons and threatening Jimmy. Because Jimmy was afraid Curry would turn violent, he took him to an armory. Apparently the armory was inside a boat. Curdy saw Jimmy's special weapons. Suddenly, he did so that Jimmy could pretend that he had been robbed if the gangster found out that Jimmy helped him. At night in the tower of the temple, Curdy told May that he would come to a building in front of the gang's office. As he arrived at the building, he aimed at the office and killed the gangsters. While Curdy was taking down those thugs, There was a sniper from the gang who was aiming at him from another building. Curdy was shot by him, but he still could to survive. He realized that the gangsters would surround him soon, so he left his special weapon and ran away immediately. Curdy attacked 2 gangsters and stole their truck despite the fact that Curdy had been attacked by the gangsters. He finally managed to escape. From that place in the middle of his journey, he realized that there were several people inside that truck. When Curry opened the door, seeing May and several women there, he told those women to get out of that truck, but they didn't want it because the gangsters had made them become addicts. They were also concerned that the gangsters would look for them. Inside a taxi on his way home, Curdy asked me why she could get in there. They told him that she tried to rescue those women, but she failed after May saw Curtis' wound. She took him to the monks so they could treat his wound. The gangsters found the weapon that was used by Curdy. They thought about Jimmy immediately. It seemed like they knew that the weapon belonged to Jimmy. Jimmy told them that he had been robbed, but luckily, Advisor Bond believed what Jimmy said. The monks managed to cure Curdy, then May took care of Curdy. In the Tower of the Temple several nights later, Curdy attacked some gangsters and took their. After that, he came to meet Jimmy, to ask for some weapons that could be used at a short distance. On their way to the armory, the gang leader called his subordinate on phone that had been stolen by Curdy, who told him that his subordinate had died, and he was the person who had killed him. He also told him that he would stop attacking them if he freed the women who had been enslaved by them. When the gang leader heard that, he told Curdy that these women were sold by their own parents. As Curry arrived at Jimmy's armory, he took some weapons that he would use. He then looked for a spigot because what the gang leader had told him was different from what a sept had told him. He was trailing a sept who was on his way to a place where women were sold. Curry pretended to order a woman and entered a room and asked a woman who was sleepless and where he was right now. Woman told him that a sept was their boss. Curdy got into a fight with a set subordinates. Curry defeated a separate subordinate. Curdy asked to separate what was actually happening and what a sept actually wanted because a sept already got cornered. He told Curdy that he was actually the son of the gang leader and the story of Asep's daughter who got kidnapped was only his intention was to damage Advisor Bond's reputation because he heard that Advisor Bond would take the gang leader's place. Evidently, Asep was jealous because his father chose Advisor Bond to be a successor instead of him. Asep offered Curdy a great amount of money if Curdy could kill Advisor Bond. When Curdy heard that, he accepted his offer instantly. Jimmy was being tortured by the gangsters because they found out that Jimmy had supplied weapons to Curdy. After he had been tortured relentlessly, he told them that Curry made him do this. Curry was heading to the gang's office to kill all of them. He killed Bond's subordinates one by one. He also managed to kill Advisor Bond. Unfortunately, it was only Curdy's dream. The gang leader and Advisor Bond discussed how they could catch Curdy. Advisor Bond suggested him to involve some corrupt policemen to find him. He was surprised when a sick man entered their room, said that Advisor Bond wouldn't be able to take care of this problem and ASEP was the only person who could take care of it. After the gang leader heard that, he told Asep to get rid of Curdy. Jimmy was still at the gang's nightclub, pretended to go to the toilet to call Curdy on phone. Jimmy told Cody to run away quickly because he had revealed his identity of the gangsters. When Curdy heard that, he asked Jimmy if Jimmy could take May with him. Promised to pay Jimmy a great amount of money if Jimmy could take May with him. When Jimmy came out of the toilet, Asep approached him. Apparently, Jimmy had worked together with a separate group of this time to damage Advisor Bond's reputation. Asep asked Jimmy where Curry. Jimmy answered that he had told Curdy to flee from the country after Asep heard that he told Jimmy to lure Curdy to their place. Asep wanted to kill Curdy and brought his head to the gang leader so he could convince the gang leader that he was better than an Advisor Bond. At first, Jimmy refused his request because their plan was only to damage Advisor Bond's reputation and not to kill. Curdy came to the Tower of the Temple to meet May. Curdy gave clothes to May as he told her that he would return to Africa, and his friend he gave her some money to be used by May and Jimmy. Curry came to an airport because he wanted to flee the country suddenly. Jimmy called him on the phone. He asked Curdy where he was. Curtis said that he was at the airport. He asked Jimmy if Jimmy had picked May up. Jimmy told him that he had visited the Tower of the Temple. but he didn't find May there. He only found the money. After Curdy heard that, he realized that Jimmy had trapped him. After that, the gangsters arrived at the airport to catch Curdy. He attacked one of the gangsters' drivers and stole their car. He was heading to the Tower of Temple. As Curry arrived at the Tower of the Temple, he didn't find May. He only found the clothes that he had given to. When he got there, he realized that May have been kidnapped by the gangsters, heading to the gang's office. Curdy managed to aim his gun at the gang leader. He told them that he would buy all the women who had been enslaved by them. When the gang leader and the gang advisor heard that, they agreed to sell those women to Curdy because the police had been suspecting their crime. But before they sold them to the gang leader asked Curdy about the person who had sent Curdy. Curdy told him that the one who had sent him a letter was mad. He tried to shoot Curdy, but luckily, Jimmy shot him first. Curtis saw May's picture on the wall and showed the picture to gang leader. Apparently, May was the first woman who was enslaved by them for 30 years ago, but she had died a long time ago, so meant that the woman who had accompanied Curdy all this time was May's ghost. Curdy thought that May's ghost came to him because she wanted him to free those women from being enslaved. After the gang leader received his money, he told Curdy and Jimmy to leave. In the middle of the journey, Curdy got off the truck, while Jimmy continued to take those women to a place where they could get some help. Curtis saw Moss ghosts thanking him.